Hey, how's it going everyone? See this beautiful empty space? I'm gonna put some floating shelves up. But in this case, these floating shelves are gonna give you the ability to not know the stud location prior to making your shelves. Let's get started. Now, I'm gonna use a few machines that you probably don't have, but the most important part is the installation part, because we can build floating shelves for you, the same technique, and then you can install them yourself. Easy. So, what I'm doing, these are my shelves, and I'm gonna be attaching them here with no brackets. So, let's get started. The first thing I'm doing is using this domino machine here. You don't need this machine. You can just pay us to use the machine. But if you do want to buy the machine, links in the description. So, currently I'm just going to get this set up. And now we're going to put our domino slots in. So, line up the hole, flick a button on, drive it in. Nice and slow. And you'll see there's a nice hole. And with Festool dust extraction, there's no dust in there, ready to roll. So I'll do my other two holes. With hold fast to get them off, hit them on the back. Done deal. So now I've got my shelf with my domino fixings in there. The next stage I'm going to do is I'm going to rip 30 mil off the back of this. My domino depth is 70 mil. I'm going to rip 30 mil off. So I know you don't all have a panel saw, but that's why you're going to pay us to make your floating shelves and you can install them. I'm not going over what I'm doing here because the likelihood of you having access to this kind of machinery is low, and if you do, you know what I'm doing. So just watch your fingers, always use your guards, and follow the user manual. And always wear life protection. And use push sticks. Homemade one. So the result of that is I've got my shelf, I've got these domino holes, and I've got the piece of the shelf with the opposing holes that go straight through. So what's the next stage? Follow me. So, we're going to install this floating shelf here. Now, you may have seen the previous parts of me making the shelf, but if we've sold you a floating shelf, this is how to hang it, basically. So, this is what you'll get as a floating shelf. So, this is the shelf itself, this is the back of the shelf, and these are the dominoes which basically hold it up. If it doesn't make sense yet, you'll soon see how it does make sense. What I'm interested in first is grabbing this piece. First thing I want to do is, when you're hanging against a wall, you may have a normal wall with studs, or you may have a brick wall. Depends on what we're working with. Is I've got solid timber, which is 20 mil thick, which means I can put my screws anywhere I want. But in your case, you'd want to mark out where your studs are. So first thing I want to do though is I'm going to draw a line using this square that it links in the description. I'm just going to draw a baseline of exactly where halfway is across this, so I can get my screw hole right in the middle. Ignore, I should clamp this down, but it gives me at least a baseline. So what I would do is I'd find my studs, and I might do another video just on finding studs, but in this case I can kind of pick anywhere on this where I want to put it. Now I wouldn't want to put it close to the edge because I don't want to bust out, so I'll probably put one screw there, and one screw there. So what I'll do is I'm going to grab my Festool DRC 16.4, and I'm going to use this, help me out here Joel, this is What is this bit?
Drill bit.
That's
Got a countersink.
okay. So it's basically a countersink
Yeah.
for
It's
these
a
batten screws.
Yeah, so it's a quarter inch drill bit with a countersink, a movable countersink for your depth stop.
So in this case, I'm just going to go all the way through, so I don't have to adjust that. So I'll put that on my drill. Now you want to make sure that you keep the orientation of what's the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write back and up with a direction. Now, if you bought a shelf from us, that will already be labeled. But because I just made this shelf, it wasn't labeled. So now I know that, I'm gonna flick it onto the side that's going against the wall. So if I look at this, I know that's the back. So my drill holes are gonna go here. So I'm gonna basically just pick on the center line, pick a random spot, which would be your location of your stud. And
Close as you can to those domino fixings. Otherwise you may get some wall flex in between.
And you want to try and drill as square as possible. You don't want to be drilling on that because then your batten screw will come out the side. Then what I want to do
Countersunk enough?
is I want to check my countersink because this is what's going to go against where my shelf goes. So if that's not countersunk enough, the head is going to stick out and there's going to be a dirty gap. So I'm going to look at that, and you know what? I should probably countersink them a little bit more.
So question for you.
Shoot.
Why are you using that big 14 gauge screw versus, say an ordinary chipboard screw?
Well, that's a really good question. And usually what I'd do in this case is I'd ask my boss. But if I was to use my own intellect, it would be because the gauge of this screw is a hell of a lot more, meaning it's going to provide a hell of a lot more strength when it's fixed into the wall. Because if you've got a long shelf, at my house I've got a 2 meter shelf, and it's attached with a domino every 200 mil, but my studs are 450 apart, so I need strength. I can't rely on a little chipboard screw that's 4 mil thick. I need the strength of steel. Although wood is very good, but that's a whole other debate. All right, my countersinks are done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the head of this drill to the other head, which probably has a name. I don't know it, but
Hex drive.
No, I'm not talking about the head. I'm talking about this thing.
Oh.
Some Festool lingo that we don't know yet. Anyway, we've got a batten screw here. So I grab one screw and my fixing. I put it in the countersink. Now I want to make sure I know which side is up, because I don't want to accidentally get it upside down, because I want my color to continue. So
you got that marked on the back, yeah?
First thing of all is if you look at this, zoom in on this, that's not countersunk enough. See that head?
Yeah.
That is not pulling in enough.
No.
So a good check is to go ahead and check each one of them. And look at that, I redid them and I still stuffed them up. So anything is possible. So just the best thing to do with, home improvement or woodworking is to double check everything as you go. So I'm giving these quite heavy countersinks now. So you'll notice now that's gonna be,
that'll pull in.
that will pull in now because there's only a little bit there. So
Perfect.
I know that's my side, I know that's the back. I know that's the back and up. So what I do is I grab my one screw and I walk over to where I want to go. Flick my head across. Now the first screw is you just want to make sure, you want to put it where you want. So in this case, this is going to be a shelf for my glue. My glue sits about that high, so I'm going to sit it about here. So right now it doesn't matter about my level to a degree. Now if you're drilling into a stud, you'll want to make sure that is where your stud is, where the center of the stud is. So, but because I'm drilling into 20 mil thick wood, it doesn't matter, I can go anywhere. So I'm going to pull the trigger on this guy. And you'll notice that's nice and flush. Now, I've got one fixing in. So what I do is, if you've got a level, great. If you don't, we can throw this into the package for you. I'll stick that there. I can see that's definitely not level. So I'll adjust my shelf until that's bang on level. I'm pretty happy with that. What do you reckon, Joel?
Yeah, I reckon it's pretty good.
So now what I'll do is I'll grab my other two screws. I'll first go to the very far side because that's the one that's going to affect my level the most. And I'll stick a screw in there. Then I'll stick one in the middle. Now what you do want to make sure is all screws have pulled in enough. So that one's got a little bit of a lip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just drill it in a little bit more. Now what we want to do, this is where the magic comes into play. I'm going to grab my mallet, which you can use anything, but we sell these really nice Veritas mallets. I grab my dominoes, which we've provided, knock them into the holes. Now you want to grab your shelf. Now, what's worth noting here is if you're using a wooden mallet, you may bruise your shelf. So in this case, what you can do is you can either use a rubber mallet or you can use another piece of wood or a piece of cardboard or something to put in front to protect it. So I'll basically get that on. I know that's the top, so I'll get that on. I'll find where the holes line up. Now it's kind of difficult to get on. I can start it with my hand. And in this case, actually I can finish the whole shelf with my hand. Now at home, I had to actually use a big mallet because I was doing 2 meters long. Now you'll notice, look at that, you can't even see where that joint is. Now if you're doing this at a wall on a wall at home, you may notice there's a line there. That is because the wall is not flat and this back piece is pulled against the wall. So then when you put your shelf on, it has the gap. So if you really want to get rid of that gap, what it means is you want to pay someone like a carpenter or look up how to what's called trim in off a wall, which basically means just copy the wall's pattern and cut it into your backing piece. So then when you put it on, it is flat. So you may wonder, how good is that shelf? So I'm just going to load this big wood type bond wood glue, which
what's
is
that, like 4 kilos?
something like that.
Yeah.
Boom, chuck it there. Hold it nice. Got a bunch more of my glues. Bunch of cleaning products, bunch of ethanol. It's going to be great cleaning up my area. All holds beautifully. That's amazing. So now I'm going to do my second shelf, probably along here. So if you have any troubles, hit us up. But remember, main points, want to drill into the middle of that backing piece as close to the dominoes as possible whilst hitting the middle of your stud. And that's it.